Good evening, I'm Malcolm and I'm from Springweb. Just a quick intro, I've been in e-commerce for over 25 years. Some people don't even think it's been going that long. And I'm still enthusiastic and I still love it. And one thing I do love is Shopify. Things that I've seen change over the years is one thing is this is one of the most focused e-commerce and easiest to use products there is out there. Well, I would say that because we're one of Perth Shopify experts. But I'm going to basically taking you through choosing the right theme. So I'm assuming you're either starting or you've got a site and you're progressing to the next stage and you want to either change your theme, upgrade your theme, or start from scratch and pick a new theme. So here goes. Bear with me. Okay, some of the basics. So before you even start diving into looking at themes, you've got to do your background. You've got to know what you're going for. You've got to understand a few things. So why is your choice so important? Well, your theme. It's the front door, it's the shop window, it's what tells the person that's out there, the people on the web, what is what and what you are. It's the look and feel of your site, it dictates the functionality of your site, and the big thing is that human beings are fickle, and they judge a book by the cover, as it says there. They'll look at it, they'll change. The facts show that they'll make a judgment on your store within, I think it's under a millisecond. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's seconds, less than seconds. It's crazy. So you've got to be right and you've got to get it right. So how do you do that? Well, just things just to remember before we even start and things that you've just got to keep going back to. It's a mantra. What are you trying to do? What do you want from your store? Well, number one, sorry to be blunt about it, but it's sales. You want to sell stuff. You want to be successful. It could be services, it could be products, but basically you want to sell something. You've got to get the user into your site to make the sale, and it's important that you want them to come back again. You want them to have a great experience, and you want them to love your site, and they want them to come to you next time rather than the next man or the other 1,000 people who are out there selling the same thing. And that's true. And you don't want any barriers. You don't want any misperceptions of what you are or what you're doing. People need to know what you are, what your brand's about. They need to recognize you. They need to trust you. In this day and age, that's massive. They come to a website, are you dodgy? That's the first thing that goes on. It's not said, but it's what's thought. How do I trust them? If they've got to trust you. The speed. If your site doesn't open, sod it. They'll move on to the next one. And they don't want confusion. Basically, that breeds the whole thing. So I've just explained this. I do have a 12-year-old daughter who's into doing slides and the rest of it, and she did say, you have to have a cuddly toy or a pussycat. So I drew the line out and said, right, go and choose something, and she came up with this. But this is how I feel when people talk about planning, but you've got to do it. There's no excuse for not planning. So before you even start diving in and looking at themes, trying to find a theme, asking people about themes, look, you've got to know what you're after, what you're trying to achieve. So again, maths isn't her strong point. So we say it's 80% perception, 20% choosing and testing for 110% success. If you can get those sort of figures, I think you're doing well. First thing you've got to do is you've got to do your research. So before you even start, it's the boring stuff, but you've got to do it. You've got to, I can sound like dad now that I've been talking about my daughter, but you've got to do the research. You've got to understand your users. You know your product, you know what's good about it, but who's going to buy it? What's the market? All the boring stuff that marketeers talk about, but you've got to know it. Understanding your market, as I've just said, but also your competition. Have a look at your competitors. One thing I say to everybody is spend a large amount of time looking at your competitors. Look at the good ones. Don't get downhearted. See what they're doing well. Also look at the bad ones. Don't gloss over those, because if you can find out what they're doing wrong, that's a great thing to see. Or what you recognize as not being good. So you want to define your sites, your store, its requirements. Before you start searching for the theme, you need to know what you want to try and achieve. So now we can start. So we've done all the research. It's easy. See? It's very quick. There's me 80%. You've done that. You're now going to start looking at themes. Later on, I'll come to where you go to look for themes and all the rest of it, but basically, I'm going to take you through it. What I say to everybody is once you've done your planning, you need a planning checklist. You've got to actually benchmark the templates you're looking at against something. You can't just look at them and go, oh, I like the look of that one, or this one's pretty good, and then get it on there and find it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that, etc., etc. So you need your checklist. There's 3 real key areas when you come to look at a theme or a template. Number 1 is the first impression. This is what I told everybody, said at the start. It's that window to your soul. It's that first 60 milliseconds for one of it. Then there's the practicality and the ease of use or the functionality, because again, it might look fantastic, but if I can't reach the bloody product or I can't find the flaming product I want because the categories are too complex, I'm going to go away. I'm going to go to the next guy. And then there is a third part, which is the little enhancements, the little things that make it different, that actually enhance what you're selling, enhance your brand, enhance the whole experience of using your theme. And those, to me, are the 3 main areas. And I'll take you through them. So, first of all, there's the first impressions, high-level aesthetics, for want of a technical word. 7 things I've got listed here. I could list a dozen, but 7. Let's start with 7. A big hero, a full bleed image. I'll take you through these individually. There's the logo. Again, when you're thinking about your theme. There's the navigation. There's the page content layout, the footer, the homepage layout, and options. I know I've breezed over them. Now let's start. So there's the hero shot. Do you want one? Do you need a hero shot? Can you sell it with just a message? Is it different? Most sites do have a photograph or some sort of slider or a banner or that's this, that, and the other. One of the things you'll find with a lot of themes is when you go and look on a theme store or you're looking at them, they've got the most beautiful photographs you've ever seen. They fit perfectly. They do everything you want them to do. Think about it. What can you supply? You know, there's no point getting a theme that is all about the picture, as this one here, when your picture's not actually going to cut it. It comes onto the image quality. What options do you have? So you have the options. Some themes have the standard banner or slider, which works extremely well. Others, you come to a site and it is all about the picture. Others use a grid system or a multiple of grid systems. Then, how about video? It's coming in now and it is a great thing to use. When you look at your logo on a theme, think about your logo, your brand. How's it going to work on the theme? There's no point picking a theme like this if your logo and your brand color themes aren't going to work with that theme. It might look like a fantastic, beautiful theme when you're up there and when you're browsing through the theme, but how is it practically going to work for you? So the position, the size, and the impact of your logo. One big thing to remember as well with anything you're doing with themes nowadays, they have to be responsive, they have to be mobile friendly. You look at the figures, you look at your analytics. If you don't look at them, what you'll find is that the number of people using a tablet or the number of people using a phone, it does depend on the market you're on, but it's climbing and it's increasing and it is primary. We design so many sites now where what we call mobile first. We'll design it for a mobile experience before we even think about a desktop. People don't get that, but that's where people are looking at your website. So if you've got a beautiful image or a video or this, that, and the other, how's it going to work? How's it going to work when it gets onto a phone? So when you're looking at theme, don't just look at the desktop version. Have a good look at the mobile version as well, and how it works across tablets and phones. All the time, you're looking at your themes and searching your themes, going through this checklist. You keep coming back to what is going to deliver the requirements that I've already set out for what my site needs. This isn't easy, but this is the way you do it. So then the next point that was on there was about the navigation. First thing you've got to do before you even start to think about navigation, and this is part of your planning process, is your site map. Basically, map out before you even start your products, the categories they're going to be in. How are you going to get to a product? How are you going to show the customer how to access your products? If you've got 1 or 2 products, if you've got 1,000 products, the navigation is really important and the way that you get through it. So once you've actually done yourself a basic sitemap. Doesn't have to be absolutely right, but you've got to start somewhere. You start to look at your themes. Well, is it just a simple drop down? Has it just got 3 or 4 categories? Is it a drop down that's got subsections? Is it something that's going to be rather snazzy, that's got subsections that expand? How does it work on a mobile? Is it something that's got 100 products with different categories? Is it something that even starts to push the boundaries? You've got to know before you start. And you've got to look at your theme and measure the theme against your requirements. Every time, come back to the requirements. What size, what position? You get variety of sizes and positions. Most of that's aesthetics, but it's what's going to work. What's going to work? Look at it from the eyes of the user, not yours, what you know about your product. Look at it as if you were actually buying from your website. And again, like I said, I'll repeat myself 1,000 times, it's so important. How does it look on mobile? As much as how does it work on mobile? Because there's nothing worse than getting to a mobile phone with big thumbs like mine on a small C5 and I can't bloody well get to what I'm trying to get to. Looking at the page width and the page layout in a theme. And again, I'm coming back to the themes themselves. Page width sounds silly. Nowadays, you've got 2 options. One of the big options is everything goes full screen width all the time. Full screen width, full screen width. That's what everybody says. But is that really the best if you've got small products, etc., etc.? Again, think about what's best for the experience on your site. What's going to sell your products and what's going to showcase your products. When you look at some of the integral sections within your site, within the theme, things like the collections. If you've got a lot of products, and not very good product photographs, you don't want to blow them up enormously. If you've got 1 or 2 products, you want a theme that's going to allow you to showcase just 1 or 2 products or single products, etc., etc. So again, when you're looking at the theme, think about what you're actually selling. I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of people miss it. When you get to a product and the product display itself, this is where I give them some examples. Here's very, very different examples across themes. One with an extremely simple requirement, 1 picture, very little information, but a very prominent add to cart. There's no point in having that add to cart button hidden halfway down the page where the people can't see it, especially on a mobile. Here's another one, can't see it very well on here unfortunately, but where they've used expandable sections where they've got a hell of a lot of content. The worst sites that I've ever seen in my life are those ones where you come to the page and there's 4.5 chapters on the page. I'm sure it's all very relevant, but people will not read it. People will not go through it. They'll be bored and they'll move on. Another section here, again, these are images of products where there's a number of multiple images that help sell the product. So again, where do I put my thumbnails? How do I display my actual pictures and wares? Are my pictures good enough to display, etc., etc.? Also, here is a theme that allows you to put tabbed content below the product itself. So you can give the initial sell. So it's very quick. I can get in here, I can choose my size, choose my quantity, buy it. If I want to read more, it's down at the bottom underneath, and I can work my way through the tabs. It's neat, it's tidy, and it works so efficiently on a mobile. Also, what else is on the product page? So you may also like referrals, other products, etc., etc. I'm not going to dwell forever because I've got a short time, but these are the sort of things you've got to consider. And again, relate them back to your research, relate them back to your product, how you sell it, what the user's going to want out of your theme. Pages. Okay, so you've all about collections of products, but you'll have an About Us page, a Why Buy Us, you'll have a blog, an FAQs page, terms and conditions, etc., etc. Again, it's all got to fit in with your branding. It's got to look neat, professional, tidy. Have a look at them. There'll be a variety of different page layouts. Nowadays, some themes have got some incredible variety of page layouts where you can actually produce columns, galleries, all sorts of different things. So again, consider those when you're looking at your theme. And always come back to what delivers on your requirements. One little thing that people don't think about, but it's worth thinking about, and the footer. I mean, it can be a really useful area on your website for giving additional information. Some people just use the designer, the absolute minimal. That's absolutely fine, and that's what you can have, and that may be you. Others use the footer to actually put in a lot of support information. Others, for the confidence boost, will put in things like their contact details, maps, etc., etc. I could go on forever. But basically, it allows you to put in additional content, secondary menus, contact information, newsletter sign-ups, social media, etc., etc. So again, relate it back to what your brand requires. Homepage layout options. Now, this is a very, very quick example of a Magento moving to Shopify Plus. This isn't the final design, but this is part of the process. This is a long way into the process, but that's the existing Magento site. The biggest problem with the Magento site is every time you want to do something or you want to try and change something or be dynamic with a site, it's great for us, it costs them about $1,000 because it's so complex. You move to Shopify and a Shopify template, and this is a basic Shopify template that we're just using with the client to actually look at the potential segmentation that's available. So this one theme has the ability to have a slider or a panel with call to actions, with overlays, can change it for a video, elevator statement, collection links, featured galleries, video. I could go on and on and on, but you can see all these sections that are in there. Obviously, there's no bloody way that they're going, there's no way they're going to want all of that on a website. But at least by going through that and looking at what's on the theme, you get an idea of what's available, but relate it back to what you need. So obviously you cut it down. So you've got the flexible sections that are within your theme. So check it out, see what's there. One of the good things about a lot of these theme sections nowadays is that they're on-off. So there's something you can put in or take away as you need it. What it means is that your homepage, your window to your soul of your brand, you can vary it. You don't need to go back to an agency. You don't have to spend an awful lot of money to actually change it up, change it around. It allows you to have links direct to collections. It allows you to have feeds from products. Basically, what you need. This again relates back to your research, and it relates back to what delivers the requirements that you want for your site and to showcase your brand and to sell your products. Next, number 2, practicality and ease of use, the functionality. Okay, I don't have examples for all of these bits and pieces, so I'm just going to run you through, again, the top 7. Mobile responsiveness. I've just been through this already, but it must be mobile responsive. More people are going to start looking at it on a phone, on a tablet, than they are on a desktop. So basically, it's got to work well on a mobile. And that doesn't mean just being a mini, you all know what I mean, but not a mini version of a desktop. It's got to work for the phone. It's got to be absolutely responsive and right, fit for purpose. Speed is essential nowadays. As I've said before, if your site is slow in loading, if your user is waiting for something to happen, they'll move on to a faster site. Or they won't come back to your site if they're having a problem. So be careful of those themes that have an awful lot of... It's very, very difficult for you to know what is going to cause things to slow down, but basically, I'll come on to it, but testing your site, it's important to think about the speed of the theme that you're going to use. Your site makeup, just a little point. We always assume that an e-commerce store is just about getting in there, seeing the wares, getting to the collection, choosing the collection, finding the product, buying the product. Some stores are about services where you actually need more pages, more information than you actually have products. So again, when you're looking at that, if you know that, you're looking for a theme that actually does focus on the page as much as things like the collection template or the product template or the checkout. Navigation, I've already been through that once on the aesthetic side, but it's just as important on the functionality. If I can't get to a collection, or I can't find a collection, or I can't easily get to the product I want, I'm going to give up and I'm going to go somewhere else. The products and categories, the quantity and types. So the quantity, again, the pre-planning, you know your products. If you've got a large quantity of product that splits down into a lot of categories, you need a theme that is easily accessible through categories, that has categories that will allow you to have multiple products on a page, not just two. It will allow you to have filtering on the site so that the user can actually filter within a category. Think about things like the pagination. Does you just scroll and scroll and scroll through 1,000 products, or do you reload? All those sort of things, you've got to relate them back to your products and your brand. The product and the variant selection, again, you need to be, if you've got a large number of products or even a small number of products, you've got to think about filtering. You've got to also think about the market you're in. If you're in the fashion market, obviously the imagery, the product itself you've got to be able to have large photographs and be able to show the front, the back, the side of a product. If you're selling nuts and bolts to an industrial outlet, you don't need a theme that's going to showcase the imagery, but you do need one that's going to be able to allow you to have on multiple collections, to be able to find it by the brand, by the type, etc., etc. One of the questions that you must also consider as well when you're looking at the theme is that not all themes are going to deliver everything you want on your list. It's not for now, but also have in the back of your mind there might be an app that might deliver some of the things that your theme can't. The third point, and this is the finishing touches, basically when you've got the main aesthetics right and you've got the functionality right, as I said, there's these little things that make it different. Little things like mouse over effects, have a look at them. Is it worthwhile? Don't just have an effect for the sake of having an effect. Does it add something to your brand? Does it work with your brand ethics? Does it help the user? Custom cart options, quick cart. Is that actually going to be something that the customer would use and use well with your product? Does it work with your product? Carts that don't have two phases, a cart that goes into a cart to the final cart, then off to the purchase route. Is it something where it will just go straight into a cart on the page as you're selecting other items, and then you can just purchase straight from there, check out from there? Custom page options, I touched on this before, but if you do need pages that are a gallery or an FAQs page that's not just a list of questions and then answers, have a look at what's available within the themes themselves and focus back and see whether it will deliver what you want. Image menus. A number of themes nowadays have enhancements to menus, so where you can actually add images, you can actually add advertorial items to a menu itself. If that will enhance the flow of your site, think about that. See if you can find a theme that will deliver that. Swatch options is an obvious one. If you're in, again, say in the fashion side of things and you've got two options for choice on a product, size and colour, do you want to see the colour as colour swatches? Do you want to see the size as physical sizes or a drop-down menu? If you select a size, but only 4 of the 5 sizes you've got are available in the colour, will it actually not show the colour that's not available, or will it put across? How is it actually physically going to work for the user themselves? Product comparisons as well. How does the theme handle product comparisons? Yeah, I'm moving. Finally, it comes to making a choice. Sorry, I can blather on for too long. I just get too excited about it all. Where are you going to look, and what's the pre-flight checks? Before you even start, you've got to think about your budget, obviously, because that's going to dictate your themes. Themes aren't that expensive, but you get what you pay for. And you can also go custom. Always think about it. If what you decide you need doesn't get met by a theme, then we can help. Shopify vetted themes. The themes on the Shopify store have been vetted by Shopify. They will work with Shopify. There's a lot of Shopify themes out there. The problem is a lot of Shopify themes that are out there don't meet all the criteria, especially speed. Do they have the documentation, all the guidelines you want? Is it easy to access? How's the support? Can you get support when you're using the theme? Look at the reviews. That will soon tell you a few things about any theme that's out there. Can you test drive it? If you can't test drive it, it's pointless because all you can see is what the marketeers told you about it. And look at what other people have done with that theme because it'll give you some great ideas and it'll open up whether you can deliver what you're trying to do. Also at the same time, I know I'm going on about it, but just think about should you go custom. Be pragmatic, don't stray, shortlist your potential themes against that checklist, okay? And road test your shortlist. Most themes will allow you to load them up into your site, test them before you buy them. Test them to death. It's the only way you're really going to find out whether it's going to deliver, and what it's going to deliver out of what you want, and whether you need to go and get some customization done or start from scratch on a customized site. Key takeaways. Themes aren't all created equal. As I've just said, find the right one for your users, not for what you want, but for what they need. Understand your primary users. As I've said before, it's all about them. Create the checklist, and the checklist is there to get the features to help your users achieve the goals, shortlist the themes, and test drive it. I think I've finished. Thank you very much. Thanks.